Hi there, this is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo at the Kelly Kon-Tiki bar. I'm here by myself tonight. So I'm going to call this episode 250, and it's going to be a State of the Podcast episode. I think Jenna May got hung up at work. I don't know what's up with Tyler, but I always said, no matter what, Tuesday is going to be my podcasting night, and I'm going to do it. And I thought, since this podcast itself will probably be in line to be, well, I'm going to label it episode 250. I did one episode, I think about a year ago, or maybe even prior, going over the previous podcast. And I'm going to do another. This is more of an anniversary podcast, and I'm not going to be bringing in sound bites or anything like that. And I'm going to go over where we are, what my plan was doing, the podcast, what was my idea in doing it at all. So it was prior to Irma, 2017, April of 2017, when I started looking into podcasting, thinking about what I would do. And what I did first was I started thinking of a theme, and I thought, what would a great theme be for a podcast from the tropics? Would be a bartender show. And what's better than doing one from tropical locale like Key Largo? So I did a search. What I did first is look for a domain search. I just started doing my own search, looking for different ideas, and I came up with Keys Bartender. And that I did. I went to GoDaddy, did the domain search all around, and bought the domain and things like that. And I left it at that. Now, obviously, that doesn't really protect it, and I'm leaving myself exposed. But that's where I came up with the name. And then I started looking into the technology, what I have to do it. And I started looking at, there's a technology behind it. I wasn't thinking at the format. I was thinking technology before I was thinking about, before I was even thinking content. I was thinking about how was I going to record the voice? How I was going to get it out there? And then I looked for an app. And that's when I came across this one called Spreaker. And I purchased an introductory app for that to do 20-minute segment. I probably had to purchase the one that was upgraded. It would do up to 3 hours, because I wanted the option of going past 20 minutes and having more than 50 hours saved. I think that was the one at the time. And then after I purchased that, I got the USB mic, and I thought, well, how do I get, and this is where you've heard me talk in previous episodes, I was quite the novice. I mean, actually, I was a neophyte when it came to sound. I thought you could just take a USB hub, take the hub, plug all the USB mics in it, and be able to port all the sound from the mics into that. But a powered mic, I found, is a poor substitute. A power mic works for getting all the sound that's in your immediate area. And for the listeners, to make it, a power mic means it's an active mic, and it opens up a microphone, and it draws in all the sound that's around you. In the background right now, there's a dog barking. You can't hear that right now because I'm on a dynamic mic. But on a power mic, you'd hear the refrigerator going. You'd hear the boat going by. I'm at the Kelly Tiki Bar. I'm going to take a picture of it to show you what I'm doing tonight. And you'd be hearing all these things going on, not just my voice. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes that is good. But in a crowded environment like the bars where we initially were intending to do it from, and I did do it for over 100 episodes, were done at other locations. And then, so I came up with the technology. I started using USB, and I realized the powered mic, USB mics, that didn't work. I had to come up with a soundboard, and I had to take all the sound and I think I started doing a podcast with a powered mic, and the sound was really, and to this day, I do get echo sometimes, and that's a sad thing, but luckily I have a production company, 43 Keys, and they help me out, and they clean up my audio and things like that. But I try to do my best. So what I found out would work best would to get a dynamic mic, and these are what musicians said. If I want to isolate the sound of the voices, get them in, port them in the computer, the soundboard takes all of them, takes all the sounds, and it condenses them together, puts them on one cable. I port it into the computer, into my application, which is a Spreaker app right now. And that, through the first 15, 20 shows, I think you may have been, and I deleted a lot of them. I think you may have heard some really poor quality audio. There's a couple times when I once I got the soundboard that I didn't figure out how to make it work. There's a whole bunch of other things you have to do when it comes to sound. Now, in the beginning, when it comes to content, I just viewed it as a general topic, like a bar conversation. And if you've been listening recently, you may notice there's maybe a slight change. I may talk about that a little later, but during the shows, we'd be drinking during the shows. And we started out, my first host and I, we just did... we would just sit down. I'd set up a format. I'd come up with kind of an idea on how to do the show, come up with a theme. I'd run it by him, and then we do it. We start drinking, and he had his own ideas. I had my own, and sometimes I guess we didn't share the grand vision, but it was really good. Connor was an intelligent man. He was good. He has a great voice, great mic, but we had some of our differences when that we were doing the podcast, and I started doing them from the Catch Restaurant. And I still do them infrequently from the Catch Restaurant, but after a while, I realized because in order to do the show, we had to do the show unfiltered, so I didn't want to. I wanted to be able to say if the word the fuck, dick, asshole is all popped out, that I wouldn't have to censor it. So I realized this isn't a show really for children anyway, much like you wouldn't take a kid into a show. Here we go. We got matter of fact, she started coming in. It's episode 250. I just started. Jenna's here, and I figured I'd do it. It was episode 250. I figured I'd start doing it and I'd go over the history of the show. There, Jenna's here, and I always said we're always going to podcast on Tuesday night, so I figured I could start this, and this was an opportune moment to do it. So I've gotten to the point where I started coming up with the idea was behind the podcast. I started about my technology problems issue in my original host. And I'm not storytelling about differences we had. There were a couple things I did screw up a couple times where I'm really not happy with some of the things I said about him. Jenna just arrived, and I thought, this way I could start talking this 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever, and I wouldn't really need anybody for any feedback for that, but which is great.
Right, well,
so I'll continue on this. Well, I'll continue. Well, sit down and enjoy. Have a cigarette. Jenna Kelly's here. See, I'm comfortable starting out on my own. I figure I would do because this is queued up to be episode. I'm gonna put it in as episode 250. It's important, and it's a milestone right there. We're on. A matter of fact, it may not be 250. It may be 253 or something like that.
It might be.
But I'm going to put it in. And so I was talking about my ideas of what doing a show. I came up with themes, like I was bitching about blue cheese olives, maybe about something. It was a lot of bitching.
Blue cheese olives?
I don't like making them.
Oh, but they're so tasty.
I know they're so tasty and stuff like that. But people that come in and walk into your place and they ask, I did shows about how people were blind to their surroundings, meaning they weren't. It was like fucking Gilligan's Island, where Thurston and Lovey Hal,
yes,
they didn't realize they weren't in a high class hotel.
Thurston Hal,
they kept on asking for things that didn't fucking exist. They were on a desert island. They didn't have a fucking thing, and they were asking, and they started accommodating them for their. Oh my God, this is how I think sometimes. I just realized this is how I matured. I'm able to think through things I didn't think of before. There's the perfect metaphor for it. People walk into a place It's obviously not a super high-end restaurant. It was not the Russian Tea Room. It's not one of the George Perrier's place. He's a famous restaurateur out in Philadelphia, and there's places in New York and Anthony Bourdain kind of place where you white tablecloths, crystal glassware. Fancy. When they come in, they start asking questions. You look on, there's a cutout of a wooden fish on the wall, a pirate statue. Someone that says, I'd rather drink rum than go to work. I'm thinking, you're not going to be getting a Chateaubriand.
Right. Yeah, well, and there's a stoplight.
Well, that's in that one particular place. I'm just generalizing the kind of places you go down there, and then they start asking a bunch of fucking questions. But then I realized, well, my God, how welcoming is that? I mean, this is not a tourist show. I'm on a network that does tourist shows and tell you all the great things you could do in the Keys. And I want to be positive, but I also want to be realistic, too.
Right.
I want to do, this is the evolution of the show.
But did
we're going
and say, do you have blue cheese stuffed olives?
No, well, I mean, I've had them before. If I had blue cheese and somebody comes in I particularly like, yeah, I might do that. But it is a pain in the ass to do those things. And then the thing about it is, we don't get the kind of crowd where you have to do it all the time. And then if you stuff a bunch of olives with blue cheese, they get moldy. So it's a waste. It's like always having cake ready for people.
Yeah.
And you live in Alaska and no one's fucking coming out of your house for cake. Why are you baking a cake all the time? No, what you're going to do, what you're going to be, you're going to salt a couple canned hams. You're going to have canned vegetables and shit like that. Because, no, that's just the way it is. What I'm saying is, you got to play to your audience.
Right.
Just like, I mean, sometimes I make some references and things like that. I hope, eventually the nice thing about podcasts that, and this is what I wanted the show to be, eventually, if I realized it was going to be funny. It was going to be comedy. It was going to be informative.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the Keys. We're going to talk about things. We're going to talk about bartending. We're going to talk about kind of regular general conversations, talk about life. Talk about my life. But not in the minutia where it's egotistical and it's all about me and things like that. And realize that the show eventually will adapt and become better. That's what I did. The show was going to evolve. And what I foresaw was a show to eventually become kind of like a late night talk show.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, I mean, I saw the final evolution with some music, to have a little music and things like that. And I still, to this day, that is a goal of mine.
Now we have sound bites.
I mean, I am willing to learn. I realize that I will learn. I didn't say I realize I will be this, but I'm willing to learn. I realize may not be there yet, but I think I was listening to one of our shows that we just did recently. I'm going to go back to the beginning again, but one of the last shows we did that we just came up, it was called, what was it called? It's the last one produced. It went out last night, I think, or something like that. And right at the end, I swear to God, the whole show, I wouldn't say it was seamless, but it was relaxed. It was you and I. And at the end, we said goodbye, and it wasn't forced, and it wasn't this. And it's like, fucking people are going to come back and listen to it. I said at the end, that's the kind of show I wanted. Some shows are really great, some real outrageous things. I did a show with one of my original hosts, and he was a little touchy when he was how would I say this?
Just recently?
No, this was almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay, so one of the original shows.
Yeah, one of the original shows, almost 3 years ago. Oh, not 3 years. It was 2.5 years ago. And I was sitting there in 2.5, maybe, 2.5 years ago, and we were talking, and then all of a sudden, there were two, and you heard this story before, there were two girls, and we were talking, there were waitresses from down the street, and we were talking, they were laughing and stuff, and we were saying, and another guy came up and said where he was from, Philadelphia. I said, I'm from Philadelphia. And he mentioned a town in Philadelphia, and I go, well known for a bunch of pedophiles. And he just got up, he looked at me and dropped the mic and walked away. And I go, well, it's a comedy show, and it's kind of brutal and stuff like that, but I didn't. and we were drinking. So, I mean, I didn't have the filter on like
Right.
that. Well, I naturally wouldn't. I don't think I would say that anymore. But, I mean, if you are a survivor and you have issues with this and stuff like that,
Right.
there are plenty of podcasts to listen to help you. This may not be the one for you to listen to.
This might not be the best therapy podcast.
No, it is not the
Something
best
like
therapy.
that. Although I will tell you, maybe he was really just.
We did
Maybe he wasn't.
We did talk about.
Maybe he had.
No. Well, I don't want to
I'm
approach that. I don't want to approach
teasing,
that.
I'm
I know, because I was
See, this is
sensitive. There was a
funny.
big one. It is funny. It is funny. You notice how uncomfortable I got? Well, I didn't drop the mic and get off. I didn't hit the thing,
This is
right?
a funny
Oh, hold on.
podcast.
Let me turn off the thing. And wait, where is it? You know what I think about that? I'm going to put this in. There we go.
You're an asshole!
There you go.
Soundbites.
Yeah. So yeah, that's nice. I know it took me a long time. Say how much I was explaining how I was a neophyte. How fucking stupid I had all these fucking things. And I go, wait a second. There's plus signs under the sound effects. That means I can add my own sound effects.
You know, I actually think we have to start doing this. I watched this really cool on a talk show the other day. I watched a really cool thing. Billie Eilish, you've heard of her, right? The musician.
Oh, you kidding me? I have a 13-year-old
Okay,
daughter.
so Billie
See,
Eilish
all the shit I bought her for Christmas was
produces,
Billie Eilish.
You know, like her brother is her music producer.
Yeah.
He wrote, basically helped her write all of these songs, if not wrote them himself.
Yeah.
They have this thing where he loves really odd sounds. So he was going through and showing them.
That's from a movie.
No, it's not.
No. I mean, is that theme? I mentioned that in the thing. It was in movie Amelie, and her love interest, the main character's love interest, he recorded people's weird laughs.
Well, but this scenario was like they were in, I want to say they were in like Australia, and the crossing light. You know, like if you're going to go across the street, and you had to wait for the walker go dude. It makes noise. It's like ding 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 ding, and it has this really cool rhythm, and it's the same rhythm that he put in the intro of one of her most popular songs. So when you listen to
Does he have to pay royalties in that then? If there's not I wonder if he. I mean, I wonder if you have to, but obviously it's probably metronomic. You know what metronomic sound? It goes to, like there's a quarter pace, a half pace,
Right.
twice, or what do they call that? What's the Latin word when they speed it up? It's called, in music.
the crescendo. That's the high.
That's the build-up.
That's
when
the build-up.
crescendo, at the end. Forget about it. Don't
Anyway,
worry about it.
But it was
Get back.
really neat because then when she was getting dental work done, Billie Eilish, she was recording the sound of the drill. Of
Over a tooth?
and they put that in a song as well.
Oh,
So
fuck,
they
man. Who
record-
wants to fucking listen to that?
But you can't tell when you're sitting.
I
there
mean,
listening
Howard
to the song.
Stern used to play things of people taking their shit and all that stuff. And I'm not...
I
listen.
don't really want to record. You know.
No, and who wants to put a microphone down there and stuff? You know, splash and all that stuff.
Yeah,
That stuff
what if
gets
you
all
had
around.
Poop on the microphone.
Yeah, I've used like a...
You'd have to use.
I would use...
a poop guard.
Yeah, something on there. But I mean, I wouldn't record that. That's not...
No.
You know, there's nothing...
Cool.
It's like everything...
Everyday
It's like that thing I talked about with the internet, talking about development of show. Not everything has to be said. Not everything has to be done. Some people work in different... You know, they tell jokes and tell jokes about, outrageous jokes. People say, there's some jokes I don't even like to allude to. No, because they're outrageous and people just go to do it to shock you. But there may have been some things that were shocking. And if you were shocked by it on my show, then obviously you don't understand me that well because there's other people on me say things that are much more shocking, and they're on mainstream AM radio and stuff like that. And we did do on several shows. I did a couple. So we're going to get back to talk about the podcast.
Yeah.
Talking about dreams, thinking about the evolution of the show. So we went through. Eventually, I worked through the first host, and then I moved to Bill. Came in. Bill introduced. Bill, one that introduced the soundboard and told me about the soundboard and how to do soundboard. But what happened is he was like the mother that cooked for you all the time and did all your laundry and made your bed and shit like that, right? Very good. Great thing. But I didn't learn how to make my own bed and cook for myself and do the laundry right. Right?
Right. Well, yeah.
So I needed to do that. And I said, listen, I got to do this. And whenever he wasn't available, there was no show. So I had to work around him, and I go, well, okay. Which I didn't mind because I wasn't paying the guys, but I was paying, the nice thing about it, I was paying the places we did, they gave us free bar tabs and stuff like that because I'm not quite at the place. We didn't have the listenership because, like I said before, I have tens and tens of people fucking listening to this show, right? So we started doing it at the Catch, and then I went to another one.
Yep.
And I was tipping out of my pocket because you can't tip out of a bar tab. Right? You can't say, hey, well, I mean, eventually, if I do that, I said, if someone, I'll work a deal with something like this. How much the bar tab is, I go like this, and it says, and whatever, if it's $100 and stuff like that, and whatever you spend, the balance, I want that to be, we'll go up to it, and then the rest will be the tip.
Right.
And I'll factor it in and stuff like that. How much, because obviously I'm figuring, even with me doing a good podcast, 6 drinks per person is pretty good. If you go over that, because I've done a couple shows, and we're going to talk about that shortly. We're going to take a short break, Jenna. We're going to talk about that part of it.
If you want to get your information about the Florida Keys straight from the locals who live here and the ones who love it here, we've got you covered. Visit 43keys.com as your source for everything Florida Keys. Sign up for our newsletter and you'll always be up to date on all the Keysy stuff that's going on down here. Go to 43keys.com. That's the number 4, the number 3, keys.com, and sign up today.
Where were we? I don't know. Just back from Worldwood, the travel tour of North Key Largo here, Central Key Largo. North Key Largo is way up fucking north.
There.
So
alligators are the crocodiles.
So we were talking about the show, how I would do it at the bars. First, we started at the Catch, and then it was a family restaurant. Every so often, you had these family friends of mine. They bring their kids in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And every so often, if I was talking about, one night stands and stuff like that, and I'm not one of those guys, those comedians that talk about like a woman's vagina and how they would, work like Lenny Bruce talking about things or hitting someone up the ass or anything like that.
Very often our conversations will go into that. Like when
we may pop into
the walking jacker and stuff like that. Like those are
and then you have a kid and you have like actually it was a 7-year-old kid, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm looking at the kid, and the kids walk by and the people are looking at me. I said, well, this is appropriate for this place. Now I loved the place. I loved doing it at the Catch, and they were very welcoming and friendly and stuff like that. And once again, I'm going to throw that little pitch out to them. The Catch restaurant, I always try to do it. They have a happy hour from 3:30 to 6:30. They're open 11 to 10 every day.
And the
only days they were off there, I'll tell you, they're closed on Super Bowl night because there's no one around then.
Yeah.
And Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And that was it. And I don't know if Easter, but they were only other holidays are open, July 4th and stuff like that, and they have great food and drink specials. And I'll just give the highlights in it. You're going to go to Martini Monday, 6 to 8.
Yep.
Man,
specials every day.
It tore me up. We were very busy last night on Martini Monday.
Great food.
Yeah. Yep, and
the drinks were
I'm sorry if I'm not really talkative during that. I'm not. Eventually, like I said in a previous episode, there was one of the early episodes, I think I mentioned the robot bartender. The robot bartender will probably be able to talk and mix at the same time. But when you're mixing like 4 or 5 different martinis, it's hard to really hold a conversation. I would love to see other people do that. I know in MASH, like on MASH, fucking, they're telling jokes when they're doing surgery and stuff like that. Yeah. Bullshit. I call bullshit on people like that. You're in there doing something like that, you're not telling a fucking joke. You got to be doing, like, you're holding something to suture and you're waiting for something. You're waiting for a tool. Maybe you'll say something then. But it's really, when you're doing multiple things at the same time, let's say, people say, well, jugglers do it, right? They're doing one thing.
They're juggling. And that becomes secondhand. And you just do that and you tell her. And you know what? And they're not very natural. They're forced. The jokes are fucking forced and stuff like that. So
See how I turned it about me, didn't I? Martini Mondays.
Well, here we go.
We're going to talk about and they have live entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights.
They do have live
and
entertainment.
Cook Your Own Catch.
Cook Your Own Catch.
And owners Paige and Kathy are always very welcoming hosts.
Very, very wonderful people. But I will tell you, when jumping
at 102 mile 102 in Keeler,
102
in Keeler,
Oceanside,
yes.
Oceanside. The multitasking thing, though, right? Like how to have a robot bartender. I am an absolute robot finance person. I can completely carry on a conversation while I'm writing somebody's $300,000 loan, and they always ask me, they're like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "Don't know." Completely able to do it. I can think about both things at the exact same time.
Okay.
And it's just it's a niche thing, and that's why.
But wait. With the things you're putting in, though, you have a form you're filling out, right? Do you have a step-by-step process?
It kind of.
Because
depends on what it is.
You got to remember, people are throwing new things at me at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's like the juggling, and all of a sudden a chainsaw comes on in there, and you got to throw that up in there at the same time.
Yep.
That's the guys that don't tell the jokes.
The guys with the chainsaws.
Yeah. I've every so often when I get into I think I may look like someone that may know what they're doing, because whenever I'm on with a street performer, I get called up to participate. And they think I may know what they're doing, but I don't fucking really know what they're doing. So and usually, if I'm throwing your knife up and stuff like that, I'm not maybe I may look like a guy that may be experienced throwing knives.
Yeah.
I'm probably not the guy for you.
You look like a guy that can make a really, really mean martini.
I got other skills too. I'm a great writer. I think I'm a good writer too. Yes. I know it's hard to tell doing a podcast. You think I would be an excellent speaker. I am an excellent speaker because when I write my speeches, I do that. I try to be. I've been trying to get away from the form like I did in the original podcast of coming up with themes coming down. I have general ideas I write down, like I do have some ideas for the next show, but I make it broad, and so something you can work with. It's like giving you a big piece of Play-Doh I want to give you so you can make something out of it.
At the high school, your audience was very captivated, and they loved you, and they asked you to come back. I mean, come on. Yeah. To be able to have an entire room full of teenagers, be able to hold their attention and have them be interested in what you're saying and have them come back. Obviously, you worked that crowd. You knew what you were able to feel by your conversation with them. I
felt really good about it.
Right,
I felt
and
good
it was great. So,
and you know what? I got to do that again. I think I have to do that again
because they invited you back. You're supposed
to. Yeah, I got to go back to that.
Yeah.
So we're doing that podcast. We're doing it, and it was feeling good with Bill and Luke. We were doing pretty good. Luke was kind of outrageous sometimes. We did the show. Yeah, Luke, when he wasn't working, he definitely liked to have a good time and hard to stay on subject. Both of them were hard to stay on subject with that stuff. Give them a point and stuff like that, and they would and they were wonderful guys, but they didn't quite understand of giving a backstory when they're talking about something where someone doesn't know where they're coming from.
Right.
They were talking. I was talking, and they would have a conversation between the two of them. I saw Sissy the other day. Oh, what's Sissy say? Blah 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 blah.
Right.
And you know what? I say, Sissy better said something really fucking outrageous because this is boring the fuck out of me. Or talking about the sound. Oh, that guy said this thing about the sound. I was moving my speaker in and stuff like that. I said, make it something like you did something like you're,
right. Well,
you farted in the guy's face, or you stepped in a pile of shit.
You have to grab your listeners and bring them in. You can't just start talking about something random. They're not going to know where you left off, where your brain is thinking.
They would just start to have the conversation right there and talk with someone that's walking by, and all of a sudden, hey there, how you doing? How did that thing go last night? Blah, blah, blah. And go, listen, do you understand there's no video here? They have no idea who you're talking to, what you're talking about. Give a little backstory. So here's the guy. He's my proctologist. He had practically his whole hand up my ass when the phone rang. And he pulled the hand out. He should answer with the other hand, but he pulled his hand out and picked up the phone and realized he got shit all over his. That's a good story.
Right.
And tell the story like it is. Think about they're not there. Figure you're talking to a blind person.
Well, right, because they obviously cannot.
The blind person go like this. Yeah, I'm doing this. But when they were funny, they were funny.
That's very
when
true.
Luke did the best show. Well, it wasn't a best show. it was the best ending. It was the best 20 seconds of the early shows.
Why? What did he do?
And you've heard it before, listeners. It was Women's Day, 2018. And Luke went on and he said, we were talking about the contributions women made to society. I did. And Luke and Bill they were talking about the women in their lives, their mothers, and Luke was talking about his sister, a little about, not as much about the wives and significant others, which is kind of, but and he mentioned his sister who was a professor or a doctor or some type, and it was really polite. And at the end, so I said, okay, we're signing off, and Luke has a song. It's called "I Love Pussy." I love pussy, 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 blah, blah, blah. And I'm like signing off. I go, what the fuck, Luke? This is International Women's Day. We can't have you singing. And he goes, why not? And I go, what? I mean, almost, I go, listen, I check explicit on this show all the time. You were on the show 70 times. You could have sang that song 70 times.
Right.
But the one time you would not explicitly sing this song is on International Women's Day. I didn't go into that. I go like this.
Funny.
It is funny. And I go like this. And I said, okay, finish your song. I did finish the song because I was ready to go, fucking cut, stop it. And Bill goes, no, I'm not stopping it. And I go, God damn it. I can't even control my own show anymore. So, okay, roll it again. And he goes, keep on going. And I said, okay, now I apologize for it. Why do you apologize? I said, it's funny. It's funny. And it was funny because I didn't have anything to do with it. But it also, I said, Luke, you just fucking disgraced everything about your sister. You did.
After you just talked about
your sister, and then you started about singing the song "I Love Pussy." Now, if you had no respect at all for women, and you did that, first of all, I wouldn't have had him speak at all during the show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even made it. I would have just sat. I would have sat and done my. That's probably Tyler, right?
Yeah, it could be, yes.
I would have just sat there and did my own show and said, I could do that. And I did it before without them. So that would go on, and then I think right after that show, we were going to Irma came around, and we hightailed it up to Lakeland, and I brought the laptop, my Chromebook, a powered mic. I didn't do the whole setup with the soundboard. I just used powered microphones, and we did live shows, and pretty good. We had like 800 listeners for the live show.
That's tens and tens and tens.
Yeah, hundreds for one live show. We had that, and people were I was getting news from like David K, Video Dave, Bill. They were going through the hurricane. I'm talking to them. I'm saying what's going on. I'm talking to the people at Lakeland, talking about what we were going through. And I mean, I didn't spend a lot talking about the hurricane because I figure everyone was listening to that shit. It didn't really matter.
Right.
Yeah, I let Hoagie out. Obviously, saw that when he came in.
He's just barking, doing his Hoagie job.
Hoagie was happy about coming out. So I figure I didn't have to do that shit. Hey, how you doing, man? So we just did the show. We did all that follow up. We had a couple call-ins. We had some people from the we had some people from France, some Germans at the hotel doing that stuff. Somebody, I think they had some elderly abuse going on in one of these rooms and stuff because I was down doing in the middle of the hurricane. I was down doing a live podcast.
Elderly abuse?
Yeah, because the cops were coming in the middle of the.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know what the time was, but I know that hurricane, the outer bands were approaching, but the police came by, and I'm in the lobby. I'm sitting there and I'm recording. And people think, I got the thing up. I'm doing the whole thing, and all of a sudden the police come in. There's an older woman there, and there's someone else. I guess there's a lot of drinking going on then. I didn't talk about it because I didn't want to. It was their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
would it be fucking right to do that? Right. So we did the Irma show, and then I came back, and then we did the Irma recovery shows. And that's when it got really kind of weird, too, because you had this guy, Chris Yulin, come on. And he was talking about, that's when we had the, remember, we were talking about the conspiracy theory. And there's still people out there that believe in that stuff. And, I mean, whether true or not, whether it happened, if it did happen, then I am disappointed in...
Well, elaborate for the listeners that haven't heard that.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that purportedly in the Keys, our official number was 14 or 26, something.
Right. It was a fairly low number.
Yeah, and then people were...
how much damage.
Yeah, and there were people that insisted that there were freezer trucks or refrigerator trucks coming back, going down empty and coming down laden. And the only thing... there were other stories that had scored. They said there were bodies in the canals and things like that. But the only thing that would make sense of removing, right, from, it would be bodies.
Right.
Why would they're not taking food out that's spoiled. Why would you freeze it? I mean, it's ridiculous. So if that happened, but no one had pictures of it, no one had any. I mean, of all the cameras, cell phones they confiscated.
Yep.
No pictures. We didn't get any. We didn't get one thing. We had a lot of stories. We had a lot of first responders coming back around, telling whispering in our ear.
They had checkpoints.
Yeah, saying things
said that they had checkpoints.
I know, but there's people that live there,
right?
That were there. That didn't have their phones removed. Unless they turned off all the signals and stuff like that. But that wouldn't stop the recording. Your phone could still go recording. Right? It would stop the recording. So, I mean, there would have been, if someone could have just shown a couple, if a couple of videos came out, MP3s, MP4s or whatever you want to call them, of bodies in the canal. Yeah, that would happen, and it never had any.
I didn't hear anything about bodies in the canal. What I heard about was the barrios, and the barrios was
that one place.
The tent city is basically what it is.
Yeah, but there was a Trailer-Rama.
Trailer-Rama is
Trailer-Rama
on 15th Street, I believe, Oceanside. Maryland.
Well, I heard guys saying that we were cleaning the canals. They said the canals were inundated. They said bodies and stuff like that around there.
I didn't hear that. There's no canals right around there, so I didn't hear that.
Around
around Trailer-Rama? No, there's not.
Not right around. I mean, within miles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
when they get blown out and they come back in because it's a big. You got the bodies that end up that would end up in the Everglades and the other ones that would wash up in the canals or on the shorelines here because that's what happens with a hurricane when it comes through.
A neighbor first responder who we saved his butt actually. Right before everybody evacuated, he had a 30-foot boat and borrowed a friend's trailer to pull it out of the water, move it, and the axle broke. And at my dealership, we had just shut down. Everything was battened down.
Yeah, I remember we talked about it. You were talking about it, and you said he was down here.
And we had to go get a Riva trailer, jack the boat up in the middle of the street.
I remember you said it was blocking a street.
And but he afterwards is the one who came back and told us everything that he saw. And I was like, "Where's the pictures? Where's your camera?"
Yeah, but not one. But
and he had said, "There's checkpoints every single."
No, but not one person out of literally the hundreds of people that said people said that they heard it from was willing to come on. And the one guy who was really trucking in all the conspiracy theories wanted just to talk about his agenda with legalizing marijuana, which is going to happen.
Why do you think that they would? What do you think that they would gain or not?
I think there was plenty to gain. I think you could try, but I'm saying that there wouldn't be 100%. You'd be able to get someone.
Right.
If I saw it, there was no way in the world they'd be able to stop me.
Yeah, I don't know.
What
they told me was that they couldn't.
If I had the pictures and stuff like that, no.
They were mostly unidentified without papers.
But no one was willing to get on the mic and say it.
See, I never asked him if he would.
But none of them. I've asked from wherever when we spoke about it later.
But why would
we spoke about it later?
I asked that just because they didn't.
I don't know.
You think they were all
I can't judge them. What I'm suggesting is none of them had. if it was true, I can't imagine 50% of the people you couldn't keep their mouth shut. How would you be able to keep their mouth shut if that was true?
What everybody had said, kind of to us, was like this is vacation land, this is tourist land. You don't want people to come back down here.
Not everyone would have that same agenda,
right? And so I was.
So some people would know. Some people would have known that would be missing somebody.
Yeah.
That loved somebody, cared about someone, and would have said something. I'm just saying, yes. Oh, yeah. You know what? You couldn't keep my fucking mouth shut.
Right.
If it happened, it would. How would that hurt? It happened. Galveston lost thousands of people in there. Galveston did not cease to become a town because of that. And the towns that had the places where the tsunami hit back in 2004, was it?
So what do you think that they were just saying it just to get
I don't know. I don't know the meaning. I don't know the meaning behind it.
I wonder why.
I just know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and every so often there's people that are willing to get on there. For this particular one, there was not one person, and it wasn't it wasn't like aliens,
right?
And shit like
it's
that.
Just a conspiracy of what? Of how many?
Yeah, there had to be. There would have to be. Wait, let me explain this one. There'd have to be several unhinged people that you couldn't even threaten that would have said shit, right?
You would think so.
So that part right there. But I want to move on to the podcast. So we moved on. We tried to break that story, and then we came up with the different. We had the walking jacker, the woman. I did a teleplay about the woman that had her false teeth stolen, and the ongoing with Jeanette, who's passed away. It's not with us anymore. And we progressed through those and we'll probably do a couple more. I mean, we'd like to recreate Mandy. We had some characters.
Mandy's
fucking hat. Asshole.
That was the walking
yeah. And then we have new characters that came around. But all that with keeping in mind is the eventual goal of the show. It's just to keep on producing episodes and seeing what it becomes.
Right, absolutely.
And to this, I know it kind of sugarcoated the last one because it didn't change much in the beginning. It was much more different in the beginning than it is at the end. And with the
even though we're not close to the
in
end.
May, getting together with production company 43 Keys. Right now, we don't do as many live shows, very infrequently, because the live shows aren't widely released.
Right,
but they're there. They're going to be. They're there on the website. They're there for you to hear. But we're live show unless we're going to get people listening in droves to it. The only reason to do the one like I did that live show was saying for your mom, and I don't even think she
listened to it.
Not live. I didn't have any live listeners.
She listened to it after.
Yeah, afterwards. I know. There's no real.
Well, she was. Remember, she was ice fishing.
I know.
She said she had a terrible signal, and she said it just like that.
No. I mean, just like you know what? Live shows for podcasts, not like the radio and stuff like that. We could do some live shows. It's not like the radio though. Radio, that's where they still beat us.
Well.
But they pretty much only can. Well, you can listen to some of the older shows of that, but they don't follow a theme, man. They do their thing. They talk about how someone in the morning. I had some people fucking. Imagine someone coming to your job, right? You're a finance manager.
Yeah.
And go, Jenna, you should really study this woman, Deborah. She works in Miami. She's a finance manager, and she's incredible. Oh, my God, blah, 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 blah. And then, okay. I mean, this guy comes in and go, well, you got to listen to this guy in the morning. Hey, fucking, this guy's great. And I go, do you know what I fucking do? He goes, yeah. What are you, an asshole? What do you do? What do you do? What do I not? Oh, yeah, here we go. You know what you are?
You're an asshole!
Yeah.
I love Tina.
No, and it's kind of echoey when with Tina, hers comes up, picks up off the mic and stuff like that. I think because I lean too close into it.
Maybe, but she's awesome like that.
Yeah. I know why. Because this mic's over here. She picked up on this.
Oh, is that what it did?
Yeah, let me move that. Yeah. So, then what happened? I go like this. Well, they fucking when they talk about farting or the Valentine's Day thing, which we're going to talk about next. We're at 43 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
We're going to sign up. This is the 200th. I'm going to
50-ish.
We'll see if I'm going to put it in and ask if they put it in for the 250th. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know where we're at.
We stopped counting.
Yeah. Let me sign off. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you, Jim.
I see. Talk to you later.
Bye.